I'm here initially just for a little bit to give people a chance because this is unscheduled. I understand that. And so I'm going to see if people notice that I am online here. We'll see what happens. And if I get a bunch of people who'd like to play, then we will play a game. If not, well, then I will ramble on for a little bit and then end, right? Because there's no sense flogging a dead horse. What is it? Beating a dead horse. Um, yeah. So I was online, or I was watching a broadcast earlier. It was pretty interesting. The Middle East broadcast over there. Saw some familiar faces there. I didn't actually get into it. I was tempted to, but kind of wanted to do my own broadcast, and so I passed on the participation in that very interesting conversation and decided to do this instead. So, if there are people out there that would like to play a game, please drop on by and we'll do this thing. Um, in the meanwhile, in the meantime, whatever, while we're waiting, I can talk about a few things. Let's see. So what's going on? So this is, those of you that don't know me, I'm in Japan. I'm an American, but I'm in Japan. I've been here for a long time. Right now we're in the middle of, it's Monday morning here. We're in the middle of our Golden Week holiday. The Golden Week holiday is the time of the year when there are a few holidays strung together. We have this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week are all holidays, and so and also last Thursday was a holiday. And so with that Friday stuck in there, a lot of people take that day off. Companies are very understanding. Some companies are understanding about that. My university, we actually had classes on Friday. Didn't have the best turnout among the students. There were some students that wanted to take off a little bit early and missed class on Friday. Totally understandable from my perspective. But anyway, we're in the middle of this Golden Week holiday. So Thursday, and then hey, I thought you'd still be eating there, Takata. I caught you just a little bit there on Randy and Randy's show. I guess Randy's the one who started that over in Saudi Arabia there. That was a interesting discussion. I only caught part of it. Black-eyed dog, welcome. Yeah, so I need to get my score sheet out here. It looks like we're gonna have a game. I wasn't sure with this unscheduled broadcast here. I wasn't sure how many people hey, peas. Black-eyed peas. Yeah, okay. Black-eyed peas, yeah, that's something I kind of miss out on. I heard a little bit of black-eyed peas, but you miss out on a lot of that. I mean, living in America for 30 years, I mean, who was recently I stumbled across Ariana Grande. That's been a couple of years ago, I guess, yeah, but only a couple of years ago I first heard of Ariana Grande. Just can't stay for the whole game, but I'll try a few. Oh, okay. Well, hope we can get started. Really should have, I mean, really should have at least 3 or 4 players, but we can hang out for a while anyway and see if more people join in. Maybe Charles will drop by. Officially an old man, I just can't get into any new music much. My musical tastes tend to go back to my youth, the 60s and 70s. I like that music very much. There's very little music that comes out now that I really appreciate to the extent that I did in music back then. Um, I mean, sometimes it's you know, catchy and so on, but yeah, I kind of miss you know, growing up during the Vietnam era. Um, you know, I kind of miss the you know those songs with the social I mean, you still have them, I guess. You still have them. Maybe I'm just out of America. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you heard that little chime on my computer there. Um, it's a little alarm. My music rotation is Bob Dylan, Beatles, Van Morrison, Queen, Billy Joel. Next to me is U2 and REM. Yeah. Okay. All right. I can relate to that totally. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, CSNY, ELP, you know, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young, Buffalo Springfield, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, uh, King Crimson. Uh, but you know, the Stones are classic. The Stones have been around forever, and they're amazing. Phil Oakes, Phil Oakes, um, familiar, but I can't place it. I'm terrible with you know, the group names I can remember pretty well, but you know, I mean, I do good to remember uh, 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 John, Paul, George, and Ringo. You know, contemporary of Dylan. I ain't marching anymore. Okay, all right. Wow, um, that's 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 pulling at the memory strings there. Yeah, I remember, but remembering is probably an exaggeration there. Yeah, it's that's in that fuzzy cloud of distant memories there. Yeah, Phil Oakes. Okay, yeah, yeah. The name was familiar, but I couldn't have put his name with any music, with any song. Yeah. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, music is great, and you know, but music used to be more. I feel more of a real expression, you know, social commentary, and today the social commentary has, I mean, for so many of the performers has switched to um, commentary about how rich they are. You know, what Ariana Grande had something. What was it? I can't remember now. But it just seemed, you know, like so material. You know, something I seems like I bought it, or something like that. Or you know, I bought this something I bought it, and it's just like, you know, bragging about how, you know, ridiculously wealthy they have become, and like that's the American dream, and like that's the norm, and that kind of disturbs me, that, you know, excessive wealth has now become the goal, not to live a good comfortable life, you know, you know, with a, you know, a decent, safe home, and you know, your family and friends around you, and you know, health, and so on. But now it's, you know, this, you know, the goal is not that. The goal is to have too much, um because they, you know, are you know, society tends to glorify those people that have too much. um you know, who was it? There used to be this show I remember years ago, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and it was like, I thought, switching to movies, I've been wanting to ask you, have you seen much of director Shiro Oji's Tokyo Story Late Spring? Yeah, years ago. Yeah, when I had first decided that I was coming to Japan, Robin Leach times, yeah, I hated that. I thought it should be, it should be, mocking them, how ridiculously, how there's, spending their money, and yet it's to be glorifying that lifestyle. Yeah, it really bothered me. Yeah, lifestyles of the rich and famous. Yeah, really didn't like that show. Should have been more mocking of their lifestyle, their overindulgence, and so on. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but Oz's movies, yeah, I've seen them. Um, yeah, and they're really really good. Yeah, Kurosawa. Yeah, um, I tend to watch Kurosawa's more than Ozu's. Ozu's, like I said, it's probably been 30 years since I watched his movies. And that was at a time that I was watching, a lot of movies, watching Kurosawa and Ozu, I can't remember other directors now. Um, but yeah, Kurosawa's struck a chord with me more so than any other director. I thought, Rashomon. I thought it was a brilliant idea. That was the first movie that I had seen, with that kind of style, or telling, one story from three different people's perspective. It's just quite amazing to me. And of course, Kurosawa always working with oh, not Mishima. Oh, I can't remember the actor's name now. Oh, it's all gone. Kurosawa's movies are certainly more exciting than Ozu's. Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, and I guess, at the time that I was watching a lot of the Japanese movie, that's what was appealing to me. The action, the excitement, but the storytelling, and I mean, to me, Kurosawa's, his camera work and so on was reminiscent of, or was at the level of uh, Orson Welles, Citizen Kane, Toshiro Mifune. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Mifune used to, Kurosawa liked working with Mifune and so on. But his camera work, the use of the shadowing and the camera, I really thought it was masterful work. And yeah, and the stories were interesting. The way the stories were told are interesting. Yeah, it's yeah, really really fine cinema. Um, Ron, his movie Ron was released, I think, about the time I came to Japan. Maybe the year after, or a year or two after I came to Japan. I can't remember now. Um, I love the Zatoichi movies too with Shintokatsu. Ron was brilliant. Yeah, 85. Okay. Oh, so it was before I came to Japan. I didn't see it in America though. That's interesting. Yeah, I couldn't remember. Um, I guess it was so new. Remember, I was living in Iowa, and so there's not a big uh, Asian population. A lot of Japanese living in Iowa, and so uh, foreign films come, especially to like the university towns. I was living in Iowa City, but yeah, Ron, I don't think was available anywhere in my area before I came to Japan. So I came to Japan in 1988. So 3 years later, I mean, that's about Iowa-like, things take 3 to 5 years longer to get there than any place else in the country. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Is Takata still here? We've got Black-Eyed Dog. We're having a wonderful movie reminiscence here, talking about movies. Maybe a game tonight. Yep, you're still here. Okay. Yeah, well, welcome. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe saving the game for after later. Yeah. If yeah, we should have at least 3 or 4 players. It makes it much more interesting. Yeah, I thought if I got 3 people right away, could start with 3, and hopefully that people would join in later. But with only 2, not knowing whether the 3rd or 4th person will join in, yeah, it might be better to save it for another time. Yeah. So we can still chat or whatever, talk about different things. What is going on in the world now? Like I was saying, we're in the middle of our Golden Week holiday. It's pretty nice. Everybody has, or almost everybody has, at least 5 days in a row off. A lot of people are taking 7 or even as many as 11 days off. They go from, for example, last Thursday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then if they take the Thursday, Friday off again, then Saturday, Sunday, yeah, that gives them 11 days off. So this has been a pretty good holiday. Of course, the trouble is, the major cities in Japan have been shut down because we're at level 5 of the pandemic, the highest level of the pandemic. I mean, it's nothing like it is in some other places. I mean, here level 5, we've got, I think, between 4,000 and 5,000 new cases in the whole country in a day. Let's see. I told my daughter I would play her list of games she has for me after Friendly Feud, so I'm gonna go, but I'm sure I'll see you soon. Okay, all right, that's cool. Her list of games she has for me. Okay, all right, cool. Yeah. Oh, Let It Be is here. Let It Be. Takata, if you stick around, we've got a quorum now. We've got 3. We've got 3 people here. If you're going to stick around, I'll start in the game. We're only gonna play 1 game today. I've got some other things that I want to get doing. Can't stay. All right. So yeah, it looks like this is not going to work out. So you can answer a couple. Yeah. Okay. What? Let's see. Charles. Yeah. Some of our regulars are not here. Share, and Charles, and so on. Yeah. Let's save it. I think that's what we need to do. Yeah. Takata needs to go spend time with her daughter, and you've got things to do. So yeah, it was a good idea, or it was an idea anyway. Whether it was good or not, I don't know. But anyway, we tried to get a game going here. I'm going to be taking a walk later on. It's Sunday for us. Yes, it is. At the grade papers. I'm a teacher too. Cool. I try to do as little grading as possible. That's the thing, teaching English in Japan, so basically everyone in Japan has studied English for 6 years by the time I see them at university. 3 years in junior high school and 3 years again in high school. And after 6 years of English study, they basically are still, dysfunctional. They basically cannot communicate in English because it's all been about, learning the grammar rules and analyzing English, translating it painstakingly, uh, you know, uh, painstakingly from English to Japanese, and basically that's the only way they generally don't produce English to any extent. Um, their English teacher, quite likely, aside from maybe reading a couple of sentences, a few sentences out of the textbook, will not use English in the classroom. Um, and even the dialogue examples, or the examples, generally the teacher will leave that to the tape or the CD, or whatever they're using. But yeah, so the students, after studying English for 6 years, like I said, basically cannot function in English, cannot communicate in English. They haven't had a chance, or even been asked to produce English. It's just trying to comprehend English, uh, and not all that natural of English either. And you know, that's one thing. They're not asked to communicate in English. They're only asked to study it for, basically to pass a test. They're given an English sentence and told to, for example, one type of problem would be given an English sentence, and they're asked to translate that into Japanese. And the translation, there is one correct translation according to the teacher, which of course there's not. There are lots of different ways that you can translate it, depending on so many factors. You see the written word, the written sentence on the page, without context, or even within a context. There are still so many different ways that it can be translated, because twined so closely that you can't study one, you can't use one without the other, right? So trying to translate something from English into Japanese is just really difficult. And it's difficult, but beyond that, like I said, there's not one correct way to do it. And I've told this story, probably some of you, maybe you've heard it before, but in translation, there's a famous story about a man working in Japan. He was American, I believe, either American or Canadian. I think he was American, and he was working for a Japanese company that was doing international business, and so it fell upon him to do the translation, and they were dealing at one time with a German company. And were having some contract negotiations, and during the contract negotiations, they had come to near the end of the negotiations, but the German company said, well, this looks really good, but we need another 10% discount. We need, if you come down 10%, then it's all is good, right? And so the translator, relayed that to the Japanese company, and the Japanese company said, "Muzukashi," and if you look in your dictionary, "muzukashi" means difficult, and so this translator, um, pretty knowledgeable about the vocabulary in Japanese, hadn't lived there too long, but had done some translation and so on. But anyway, so he translated that to the Germans as difficult. Oh, that's difficult. And so the Germans said, okay, fine, let's finalize the deal then. Okay, let's do it. And so the Japanese were happy, the Germans were happy, and so they said, okay, we'll write up the contracts and we'll send them to you, and we'll conclude this deal. And the Japanese sent the contracts to the German company, for them to sign, and finalize everything. And the Germans got really upset. They said, "Hey, where's our 10% discount?" Right? And the Japanese were like, "Hey, you know, we said it was difficult," right? Which in Japan means no. Uh, Out of politeness, the Japanese generally don't say no in that situation. Um, you know that that sucking air through your teeth, and that alone is enough to know that what you're asking is not considered a doable request to the Japanese person. And muzikashi, yeah, muzikashi means, although it means difficult, that means no in no uncertain terms. That means no. We will not do that. But to the Germans, that meant that's difficult, but because we want this contract, we'll do it, right? That was a German interpretation of the English translation, difficult, right? So, and so that's a situation where having, an entire dictionary lexicon within your brain is not going to serve you very well if you don't understand the cultural significance of the way those words are used. Um, yeah. So yeah, the way the guy described it, he said that um, the two companies reached a compromise at 5% or something like that, so that each company could save face, could maintain their honor or whatever, But the translator was in the doghouse for quite a while because it was his responsibility to not only translate the words, but to translate the cultural significance of how things were said and so on. So, yeah, that's something that our students have absolutely no awareness of. So they were trained that, okay, if there's an English sentence, there is exactly one correct way to translate it, and that's part of Japanese culture. The idea that any problem or any question has one correct answer, and so it's our students are, the Japanese people basically, under the assumption that the teacher has the right answers, and so it's the responsibility of the teacher to give the students the correct answer to whatever question might appear on the test, right? So if that's another thing. So if a teacher asks a question to a student that they haven't given the answer to, uh, it's explicitly given the answer to that exact question, then the students almost feel like, well, it's not their responsibility to come up with the answer because the teacher hasn't told me yet. They're not expected to extrapolate. Again, we're talking about the probably the lower levels. I mean, I'm sure that once they get into higher level research classes and doing research and things like that, it must change. But that extrapolation, that going beyond exactly what has been taught to them, occurs much later and much slower than it does in the West, in America, and so on. So yeah, so these Japanese spend all this time learning English words and learning English vocabulary, but not using them, right? They learn these Japanese translations for these English sentences, uh, or they learn a rote answer to a question. For example, if somebody says hello, nice to meet you, then they will respond with nice to meet you too. I mean, it's like ingrained into their mind. That's what, if somebody says nice to meet you, then you say nice to meet you too, right? um they don't they don't have the ability, they haven't developed the ability to answer in any other way. They were trained that that is the right answer, the right way to respond. Um, so, I spent a lot of my time trying to break down those barriers, to get them to realize that uh, whatever English sentence they see, that there is more than one way to translate it. We spend a lot of time, uh, we do a lot of translation, but I do that exercise once in a while to get them to understand, because my Japanese is not perfect, by any stretch of the imagination, not even close. I can get by my classroom English or my classroom Japanese pretty good, because simply from using it for so many years and so on. But I certainly don't have the breadth of expression that I would need in order to be able to, you know, accurately translate a lot of the material that I am using in the class. And so I have my students translate, and then we go through and using, my Japanese, to understand the way they translated it, and then I look at the English, and it becomes a question and answer session. Is like, okay, now this Japanese seems to be implying that, that this was something, but the English, doesn't really say that. Is that right? Does this Japanese say that? And you say, yeah. Oh, so maybe you want to say it somewhat differently, and then we'll talk about a couple of different ways that they might express that, um, to get that message across, that there is not, that one right answer, that one right way to do it. The other thing that frustrates me to no end is the Japanese use of katakana. Katakana, I've talked about this before. Uh, is that just in the academic sense? I would imagine you get along in town. Um, yeah, again, I didn't never studied Well, I studied Japanese for a couple of months, one summer when I was in the States, so 35 years ago. I had a little extra time in the summer, and I said, "Oh, Japanese." The only language I had studied before that was Spanish, um, and so I studied Japanese for a couple of months. And not an intensive course or anything, just a couple of months of some Japanese lessons, and but I picked up Japanese, simply by being exposed to it and using it and so on. So there are certain things that I can say quite fluently and quite effortlessly, sometimes more effortlessly than my English, right? But there, I find things that I quickly go beyond my abilities. For example, I mean, yeah, like I said, classroom English and things like that, or yeah, interacting with people on the street, doing my shopping, doing things like that. But when it comes to like insurance, which buying insurance, life insurance, extra health insurance, uh, whatever, or insurance for my car, the options and so on, and things like that, or even buying a car, that quickly gets beyond my ability to use Japanese. I often need to call on my Japanese friends for help, or depend on the patience of the Japanese person dealing with me. I can make myself understood in Japanese, but sometimes it takes a lot longer because I don't have the develop. I have not developed the vocabulary or all the grammar that's needed. Yeah, it's confusing in any language, right? Yeah, trying to going through all your insurance options, in English, right, is too much. Or taxes, right? I've done taxes 30 times or whatever. Well, actually, I haven't, because I the university where I work basically takes care of filing my taxes for me, so that's okay. Hello, share, welcome, welcome. Um, yeah, but filing taxes, that kind of language and so on is just, wow, well beyond me. But again, fortunately, the Japanese are depending on the town, the personality of the people there. But I've been lucky that when I filed my taxes, I was uh, they had someone who was not at all fluent in English, but was okay with dealing with a stupid foreigner, and talked me through things, very kindly, and was willing to use simple Japanese to try to explain explain these difficult tax-related concepts to me, so that I could properly fill out my tax forms and so on. But yeah, but this use of katakana is just terrible. Katakana it's a writing system, so the image, I guess, of Japanese is kind of like Chinese, and that has these characters, right? But that's only part of the writing system. Those characters basically carry a lot of the meaning, but then a lot of the grammatical things, like marking past tense or present tense or future tense and so on, those are carried on by these other simplified characters called hiragana. These simplified characters. They're not the complicated kanji characters. They're, again, strange to us, but they're much more simplified and so on for grammatical purposes. Turning something into a question or a negative, or and so on. And then the tenses and so on, and possessives. The right, my book and so on. So those kind of changes, grammatical things, are done with the hiragana. You've got that kanji, the Chinese characters really picture, complicated looking things. And then you've got the hiragana, which are for the Japanese grammatical things, right? But then you've got a third one that are katakana, that were originally used for nature sounds, right? Like the sound of the wind, or birds chirping, or the sound of water rushing, or the rain falling. They have those kinds of those kind of sounds were expressed using katakana to show them as different than the regular spoken Japanese and so on. And foreign words, it was decided sometime in a long time ago that foreign words would be written in this katakana, right? The problem is the Japanese sound system and the English sound system don't match, and that katakana, that the writing system that they have for nature sounds, only expresses the Japanese sound system. Of course, that makes sense, right? But when you try to, that's why still to this day, it's famous that Japanese can't distinguish between L and R, because in Japanese language, they don't distinguish between those two sounds. The katakana sound writing system has no way to distinguish between those two sounds. And so if they write lice and rice, they would write it with exactly the same letters. And so, that it just perpetuates that problem, right? They don't have a way to distinguish using that writing system. The strange thing is, to me, is that you see, the alphabet all over the place, on street signs, shops, even apartment buildings will often have the name written in alphabet, right? It looks cool, right? But when when they're studying English, they don't use the alphabet. Of course, you see it written in there, but then they'll look at the English and say, okay, now what is the katakana, what is the Japanese writing equivalent of this, right? And then that's what they remember, that's what they learn. And so they don't learn how the proper pronunciation, and they don't learn the proper spelling of these words, right? Because they're putting it into their own writing system, and so that writing system doesn't match the sounds, so they don't get the pronunciation. It doesn't match it's a different writing system, so they don't remember the spelling. So after, yeah, share, sorry about that. Yeah, I was decided to save the game. I only have 45 minutes. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Takara was here, but she had plans with her daughter, and Black Eyed Dog was here, but he also had other work to do and so on. So yeah, this turned into just me rambling on session here. But yeah, so like I said, the students that I see have generally spent 6 years, 3 years in junior high school, 3 years in high school studying English, and yet they've been taught such a narrow way of studying the language. They're not good at studying the language. They were taught that there's only one answer to any question, which of course there's not. There's multiple answers to any question, multiple ways of saying the same thing, right? Um, uh, we just, all our most common phrases. I mean, we just have so many alternatives, just to greet someone. If you see someone in the morning, you can say, "Hi, how you doing? What's happening? Good morning. Beautiful day, isn't it?" Or whatever. We just got all these things. But in Japan, when you meet somebody in the morning, you say "Ohayo gozaimasu." I mean, there's almost no variation. I mean, that's just what people say. That is the morning greeting, right? What's up? That's just it. In English, we pride ourselves on the diversity, the different ways that you can say the same thing, right? But in Japan, it's like there is the right way. I mean, there may be several ways to say something, but that will be dictated by your relationship to the other person, right? Are they, higher than you? So for example, are you talking to your boss or something like that, and so you use a certain, or are you talking to a coworker or a friend, or are you talking to a subordinate or a student? These are the things. Everything is decided. Everything is decided. You just have to remember what they are. The language itself has all these different ways of saying things, but when you use them is determined. So in any given circumstance, you know exactly what to say. The Japanese like that. They like to know what to say. They like to know what to do. This idea of, oh, you can do this, you can do that. I mean, every time I give my students the choice, okay, well, pick a topic for your paper, right? It's like, oh my God, teacher, tell me what to write. No, no, no. What do you want to write about? You pick. I don't know, right? I kind of like it too. Yeah. But it's so different. I mean, in America, it seems like we spend a lot of time, deciding for ourselves, what we want to do. Whereas in Japan, they don't have to waste that time because they're told what to do. Uh, and I've gotten used to that with first year students, and hopefully by the second year they've dealt with me or other foreign teachers enough so that they a little bit got used to that concept. But this year I've got some third year students that still are like, and they're working on their graduation, or their this is the first step. They're doing kind of practice preliminary graduation thesis type study. And I say, okay, well, tell me what topics you want to write about. Oh, teacher, what should I write about? I say, that's your first job, right? Is to figure out what you're going to write about, and they're still stuck in that. It's just been so ingrained in them that that there is some right answer, and it's up to them to find out what the right answer is. They just feel very uncomfortable when there's more than one possibility. Yeah, you can do this or you can do that. Well, which one's better? Well, whichever one you want. Oh, no, no. That's just totally terrifying to them. Yeah. So, I try my hardest to try and get my students away from this katakana, this Japanese writing system used to represent foreign sounds. One thing, so for example, do you know what maron is? Maron? Uh, uh, give you a hint. It's a food item. Marron. Do you have any idea what that would be? Um, well, no. So marron is a chestnut, and that is the French word for chestnut. Okay, and but so French, being a foreign language, is also written in katakana, in that, that special writing system. And so when a Japanese student is talking to me and they want to talk about chestnuts and they don't know the vocabulary word chestnut, they say marron, expecting me to understand, because it was written in katakana the way all English is written in katakana, and that marron is written in katakana. So a foreigner must understand, right? It must be English. They don't even know where it came from, right? So you know, in Japan, uh, a lot of students have part-time jobs, right? They're full-time university students, but of course they have a part-time job. Mostly their parents are paying the whole, you know, yeah, how would, right, yeah. But it's that assumption that, that any foreigner, if it's a word written in katana, that any foreigner should be able to understand it. It's like, it's not Japanese, so Japanese should understand it, right? They just don't distinguish between, so a part-time job is arbaito, arbaito, or sometimes just shortened to baito, right? And that actually originates from German, which I don't know enough German, but I think that Arbeito, or something very similar to that sound, means part-time job in German. But again, students will use Arbeito with me, expecting me to understand it, because it's katakana. And they're rather surprised. Since you don't Arbeito, karana, you don't understand Arbeito? No, it's not English, right? They're just it takes quite a while for them to understand that everything that is not Japanese may all be written in katakana, but that doesn't mean that all people who are not native Japanese speakers can understand all those words and so on. Yeah. Yeah, Japan is kind of black and white, kind of look at things in black and white. It's right or it's wrong, right? And so the teacher's job is to give the students the right information, right? And the Japanese have amazing memories. So if you tell a student that, okay, this English sentence is translated into Japanese this way, right? And they can probably remember that. But if there's any variation in that English sentence, then that throws, okay, well, that's a different English sentence, which sometimes it is. I mean, we know that, small changes, the addition or deletion of a word, or changing one word or something like that can greatly vary that. But they don't learn those kind of things. They learn that, okay, this sentence translate this way, is a more common way for them to have studied the language. So yeah, and of course they're not going to have the database of all these possible English sentences, and so they're just lost. Oh, yeah, that's a new sentence to me. I don't know what it means. But 90% of this sentence is the same as these other sentence, or this other sentence. Can't you guess what it might be? Oh, no, I can't. Teacher, you have to tell me, and then I'll know. That kind of attitude, right? Teacher tells me, then I'll know, right? So even when the teacher asks a question, if the teacher has given the answer and the student doesn't know the answer, they will say wakarimasen, which would most closely translate to "I don't understand," which means that they didn't understand it was their fault that they didn't put the information together properly to be able to answer the teacher's question. I could say Kevin and I went to the market about 3 different ways. Right, exactly. At least, right? That's exactly right. But and in Japanese, um, you probably could, but then again, I'm not sure. Anyway, but what I was saying, so if a teacher asks the student a question and that teacher has given that information, but the student can't recall it at the time, it's not the student doesn't say I don't remember or I don't know. They say I don't understand, which puts the blame on them for not understanding. The information was given to the student, but they didn't put it together properly to be able to answer the question. But if the teacher, God forbid, would ask a question that the student that they had never given the student the answer to, then the student could properly say, "Shouldn't I don't know." And that I don't know, now that puts it back on the teacher. Well, you didn't give me that answer, teacher. I don't know because you didn't tell me, right? It's not that I couldn't understand. It's not my fault. It's, the teacher saw, I mean, again, but shouldn't I simply means I don't know. But again, with the cultural implication is now uh, it's implying that the teacher has not yet given that information. And it's not necessarily accusatory. It's like the teacher might say that to kind of test the students and say, oh, the student might say, oh, I don't know, right? So, and then the teacher will say, oh, yes, well, that's because I didn't tell you yet. The answer is such and such, right? Um, but yeah, so I don't understand and I don't know. Uh, again, ask a student a question and how they answer that is, whether it's I don't know or I don't understand, says a lot about, what has been or what they remember has been taught to them, or what they feel has been taught to them, right? So you very rarely hear a student say shouldn't I, because most of them, especially in English class, aren't paying close enough attention to be able to say I don't know, because again that implies that the teacher hasn't said it yet. They would say I don't know, the teacher come back and say, well, if you look at page and so in the textbook, we studied that, right? So you should know, right? But if they say I don't understand, that's because even though it was taught to them, they weren't able to put it together properly to be able to answer that question. So yeah, it's just, it's really language, especially languages and cultures that are as different as English and English speaking countries cultures, be that England or America. I mean, we see a lot of difference between England and America, especially, comedy styles. I mean, we've learned to appreciate each other's comedy styles, but they're most definitely clearly, um, stylistic differences between British culture and American culture. I remember falling in love with Monty Python when I was young, and I still find, a lot of British comedians quite interesting. I like Ricky Gervais, uh, and even Jimmy Carr, and so on. So there. But anyway, the point is, there are lots of differences between American and British cultures and so on, and yet they're so close compared to something like Japan. I mean, even British and French, the overlap. They have a sick sense of humor. You don't like Ricky Gervais, really? Monty Python? You like Monty Python? Oh, John Cleese. Oh, I think he's so. Faulty Towers. Faulty Towers is one of my favorite shows. And then of course, The Office, the original. Ricky Gervais, British The Office, I thought was great, and he did a thing called Extras, and yeah, just like spam, 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 spam. They're too nonsensical for me. Oh, okay. It's yeah. I'm listening while I grade. Okay, cool, cool. All right, very, very productive of you. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nonsensical, but then it's some of it. Sometimes it's social commentary is mixed in there. It's like okay, you can perceive what is coming next. Yeah, you can perceive or you can't perceive what is coming next. Yeah. Um, yeah, I like British humor. Um, The Office, I mean, Steve Carell did a pretty good job. I think that they went on too long in the American one. I thought that the first couple of seasons were pretty good. Um, they could have stopped there, and it probably would have been better. Which is generally what I feel about most American television series. Um, the British tend to they have this core idea and they develop it and they have a number of scenarios, a number of scripts, a number of ideas that they have that fit in really well with their initial idea, and they present those, and then when they've run out of those good ideas, then they end it. So The Office is 2 years, and I mean, all these different shows. Faulty Towers only ran for 2 or 3 seasons, I think. These kind of that seems to be the case. Um, Unless there's some of those that all about the characters. Hello from Texas, Brian. Hello. Um, but American shows. So, for example, one that I really got into at the beginning was House. That one about the doctor had the bad leg and was diagnosed diagnostic genius, right? And he was really abusive, bad personality, and so on, and um, so yeah, the first season, maybe 2 seasons, I loved House, but then it went from these interesting cases, where his personality and the way he interacted with the different people and got all into their backstories. But that's not why I started watching it. I started watching it because of these medical cases that were really fascinating, and how it took a master diagnostician to be able to figure out what these illnesses were. To me, that's what was really interesting. But then it's all about his addiction to pain pills, and this person, it's just like, when he went on drugs, I quit. No, see, that's the point. He was always on drugs, right? He was, that because that was part of the backstory, is that his leg, was a large portion of his thigh muscle was removed, and so he had the, but anyway, pain was left over, or from that, and so he'd been taking those Vicodin, those drugs for years and years, and he was addicted. But so that was part of the backstory from the beginning. I mean, it was to the point of ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. But it was really only the first 2 seasons that I thought were really good. And then, like I said, it got into his drug addiction, and the those his assistants' personal lives, and stuff like that, and his interaction with what Cuddy, the administrator, and their history and so on. Which, I mean, having those things there add to the depth of the characters and so on, and so that's good. But then it shifted away from the medical stories and made their interactions the main part of the thing, of the whole program, the whole show, and that I lost interest there. I kept watching it, but it just wasn't all that interesting. Initially, it was great, all the medical teams and stuff, and the interactions with others. Right? Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's generally, the pattern for most long run American television shows. Um, Lost. Lost. I don't know if you guys remember that. I watched Lost, and that was one where the first season I thought was really intriguing. You know, these people, on this island, and they're how they're gonna work things out and so on. But then you can only do that for so long. I mean, things are going to settle down, and so when was it, the second season or was it into the third season? I can't remember. They found that bunker, and then they had to push that button every 115 seconds or whatever. Well, I can't even remember what it was now. You never saw Lost, but it was just so ridiculous. I mean, they had to. I mean, they were just looking for something to keep things going. It's just so contrived. I totally lost interest in it. Heroes was another one about the same time. That was interesting. Kind of a X-Men type of thing. These people with superpowers and so on, and that was interesting. But again, that that they ran out of reasonable stories, and so they started getting unreasonable, and yeah. I was the Lost Attic all the way to the end. Oh, see, as soon as they had to push that button every however many seconds, that just I watched it a little bit after that to see if they were going to pull it back, but no, it just I lost it. But uh, there's a lot of shows that were just so popular that I never got into. Heroes, I guess they rebooted that. And then what else? Uh, Probably gonna get hate comments here, but I didn't get into um, oh, now I can't remember. I just oh man, my Alzheimer's is kicking in here. Okay, that one with Jon Snow and the dragon lady, the lady that had the dragons and the White Walkers and um oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad again. That's one. I was a teacher, right, and I could see that. Okay, I mean, I'm not a chemist, but I could see that. Okay, you're in a desperate situation, you do that, but then, he just. I mean, he just changed, and then I lost all connection with him, right? Tyrone Lannister, right? Yeah, yeah, little uh, Peter Dinklage, yeah. What was that? What was the name of that show? Um, oh shoot, I can't remember. Yes, Game of Thrones. Thank you, Game of Thrones. Yeah, again, I just couldn't get into that. For one thing, the only character that I really liked was what's his name at the very beginning, who died, the father. The father that was killed like right away. Like in the second or third episode or whatever. It was the first episode. I don't know, but yeah, he was the only guy that really. I mean, yeah, yeah, the Dinklage's character was kind of interesting, but yeah, that one character wasn't enough to bring me in. I don't know. It's just kind of, Game of Thrones. It was just a fantasy setting soap opera type of thing that I just didn't get into. Same reason I don't like any sword or fortress stuff. So uh, as a casual Game of Thrones fan, I didn't mind the rushed ending, but most diehard fans had a problem with it. Orson Bean? Orson Bean. I know Orson Bean, but I lost the reference there. I also enjoyed Spartacus, Black Sails, The Expanse. The Expanse, yeah. Spartacus, I didn't watch that, or Black Sails either. I'll have to check those out. The Expanse, yeah, I like that. And yeah, I started to watch that, and then I got busy and distracted, didn't get back to it. The Expanse seemed interesting. I don't know how long it goes, but again, I hope it doesn't go too long. That's kind of my point, is that most shows, go a little bit too long, you know. Um, I mean, I'm a science fiction fan. Star Trek, you know, even the old Captain Kirk Star Trek, um, that was just about right, I thought. And then, that was enough different when they went Next Generation. I thought that was enough different that, again, the first couple of seasons were pretty good. But then again, the same type of thing. It got more about, uh, the intership relationships, who's interested in who, or, this personality and that personality, or their baggage from before, uh, Picard's relationship with the doctor, and Wesley's father, and so on, and that when that became the main part, then it's like, okay, all right, you guys have just milked this too much. Um, I'm back just listening. I just beat my daughter playing Sorry. Now we're on to Monopoly. Okay, cool. I love Monopoly. You beat your daughter playing Sorry. I tell you, Takata is just super competitive, isn't she? Monopoly. All right. That was kind of my game, yeah. Um, Monopoly and Risk. Those two I used to play the heck out of. Yeah. Yeah. And both depend on, I mean, both are a nice balance of strategy and luck, I mean, the die are, the dice are just gonna, um, yeah, that's right. You gotta learn how to lose. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Joy, yeah, Takata enjoys winning only for a little bit. Yeah. Um, let's see what time is it? Oh, 10 o'clock. All right. Well, tell you what I'm gonna do. I don't think we're gonna play the game today. We got audience that are just listening. This is too bad. Yeah. I started early because I need to take off. I got an appointment. Gonna meet my wife. We're gonna check out the new Starbucks across the street from the hospital where she's working there. Haven't been to that yet. It only opened up a couple of weeks ago. Avoid the initial rush. Japanese, even more so than Americans, if a new shop opens up, everybody has to check it out, right? Starbucks. Yeah, I mean, hey, I rarely go to Starbucks. Rarely. I've got a friend that's a Starbucks addict, but I rarely go to Starbucks. But this one is like, just down the street from one of the universities where I teach. I refuse to pay $5 for coffee. Well, see, that's just, I mean, that's why it's not so bad here, because you're going to pay $5 for coffee anywhere in Japan, right? Whatever coffee shop you walk into, it's not going to be any cheaper. Um, in Folgers we trust. I like the Pike Place House Blend. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. 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 I mean, Starbucks. It's overpriced, but yeah. Again, uh, if you I mean, there's such a difference in bringing your own coffee, and I tend to buy the better beans when I buy coffee bean. I buy the beans and grind my own beans and so on. I don't roast my own. Um, I have a friend. I know a few people that roast their own beans. I mean, they're like too into it, right? I mean, that's fine, but I try to buy the good quality beans and grind them myself, grind on demand, so every morning I get my exercise, right? Grinding the beans there, you know. Um, yeah, get my arm workout there. But yeah, so Starbucks is not that expensive. It's tiny little premium, and they do have good Wi-Fi, so that's nice. Um, most of the Starbucks are not that noisy. The until now, well, I know actually still the closest one to where I live is right across from. It's right across from a university, and next to a shopping mall, and it's just really noisy all the time. They're just young people in there, the university students that from the university or from their part-time job at the mall. They're just in there all the time, and it's the noisy. I think it's the noisiest Starbucks in the world. I mean, it has to be. It's just noisy all the time. I don't like it. So that's why I wanted to check out this other one. I found the fantastic blooming flower tea where the bulb you put into the teapot opens into a beautiful flower. Tea is great. Interesting. Huh. That sounds really cool. They put into the teapot. But okay. So in Houston we also have Minuti coffee. It's Italian and they serve gelato and pistachio muffins. Wow, the pistachio muffins sound really good. Gelato, yeah. We used to have a really nice. I don't know. Since the pandemic, I haven't been downtown really at all. There was a nice gelato shop. They had good good pizzas. I mean, real authentic like pizzas. They had a legit oven, and hand tossed dough and all that stuff. And they had gelato there. So, your little corner of Italy there, your nice pizzas and gelato, you know. Yeah, but the pistachio muffins sound really good. Um, and so we just got what at the beginning of last month, so just a month ago, our Texas Bluebell ice cream is law, but gelato, yeah. Bluebell, heard of Bluebell? Yeah. Yeah, I love me some gelato too. Yeah. And we just had our the Costco open up. The used to be the closest one was about if you took the expressway, it was about 2.5 hours away. And now there's one that's 25 minutes away from where I live. So, but again, it's brand new. It's only been open for a month, and um, Costco, even on its best day, is always crowded, at least around here. And I'm just not one for crowds, and especially during the pandemic, I try to avoid that. Um, but I'm hoping that now that it's been open for a month, and we've after this after this Golden Week holiday that we're in the middle of, had a lot of exploring to do. Yeah. After the Golden Week holiday is over, I'm hoping that people took that opportunity to go and check out the new Costco, right, and let them face the bumper to bumper carts, through the aisles and so on, and maybe a week or two from now, things have settled down to the point that I can go in there and not feel claustrophobic in this huge, yeah, I hate that, you're in this huge uh, uh, warehouse supermarket and you feel claustrophobic because you're elbow to elbow with people. That's just not my, it's called Tea Bloom Tea. You should Google it. It's on Amazon. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah. Um, I hope it's on Amazon Japan, right? And but yeah, so the tea, it opens up into a flower, but if it's inside the teapot, so do you have like a clear glass teapot? Because our teapot, the teapot I have is ceramic, and so if the if I put the tea inside the teapot, I'm not going to be able to see that flower. Um, Never played Monopoly. All right. This Brian is not American, obviously. I mean, how could that be? Never playing Monopoly? I have a clear glass teapot. Okay. Uh, French press. Yeah, French press. Yeah, I have French press, but I generally, yeah, I only use that for coffee. I mean, I have one French press that I only use for coffee. I have the nice uh, It's a nice double-walled stainless steel, French press. So again, you can't see inside, but with coffee, it's not such a deal. I've had glass French press that I've used for tea. Uh, Probably just doesn't interest you. You're not capitalistic. Um, yeah, I mean, Monopoly. I mean, that's back. I mean, what were the so Risk I loved. Um, Stratego is cool, but it's only a two-player game, So if you get together with a group of friends, then Stratego isn't gonna go very far. I guess you could have a tournament or whatever, but you know, checkers and chess again, two people. So for multiplayer games, you got Risk and the Game of Life, but I never really liked the Game of Life. I mean, it seemed more luck on what you land on. I mean, the choices were pretty obvious, so it was more just chance by what you landed on. So I never really cared for the Game of Life. Sorry, Parcheesi, games like those are good. I can learn to play, then defeat the kata. Yeah, you think so. You think so. Takara, she is the game champ, I tell you. Um, all right. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk, like I said, to go meet my wife and have myself an overpriced cup of coffee. And while I'm walking, though, maybe I'll crank up my phone and continue talking about this, that, and the other thing while I'm walking, and give you a show of what. I'll be walking to a section of Kumamoto that I haven't broadcast from before. Um, Tell Mercy hi. Yep, yep. Enjoy your walk. Yep. Thank you all. It's been fun. Um, Maybe tomorrow, definitely Wednesday, but maybe tomorrow about this time I'll try and do a broadcast. Again, I'm going to try to be on a little bit earlier than right now, about 30, 45 minutes earlier than right now, um, and do a friendly feud then, and again on Wednesday, so 2 days in a row. Who won tonight? Oh, Charles. Yeah, see, yeah, everybody's getting here now. That's what happens when I try to upload on Amazon Prime TV is a good show. Upload. All right. Yeah, again, I've got Amazon Prime, but the Amazon Prime in Japan is the offerings are some overlap, but a lot of differences. They skew it toward the Japanese audiences. So I've got a friend actually who's an actor who's been in some small scale uh, movies, and some of them are available on Amazon Prime Video, but not in Japan. I was knocked out anyway. The Expanse is also on Amazon Prime. Yeah, Expanse. Yeah, I have seen some episodes of that. Like I said, I got away from it when I got busy. I'm gonna have to go back to that and check it out again. All right. So thanks everyone. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for dropping in, Charles. Sorry we didn't get a chance to play a game, but look for me tomorrow about this time or a little bit earlier than this. Okay. All right. Take care. Had to order Event Horizon. Event Horizon, yeah, on Blu-ray. Okay, dedicated. Cool. Yeah, we can talk about a lot of things. I mean, I loved Third Rock from the Sun. I thought that was great. Anyway, okay, all right. Thanks, guys. See you again soon. Bye bye.